Hey everyone, I'm Liz Merrick with the Sugar Geek Show, and today I'm going to show you how to make this adorable sea turtle. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started making our turtle cake. I am basing this off of my daughter's adorable little toy that she won at the carnival last summer. It's one of her favorites. So for the cake part, I'm going to start with a 6-inch round. I have a 6-inch cardboard round that I'm just going to trim about 1 inch off of both sides. So it's more oblong shape. Then you can use this as a template. What? This is my vanilla cake that I just colored some of it a little teal and then swirled it through. And then I torted the cake so that I have 3 layers. One of the layers I'm going to use for the head. So this is the shell. I'm going to have to trim down this board a little bit. And then for the head, I'm going to give one of the sides a little bit of a point. So it's more of this shape. So this is the top half of one of my torted cakes. And I'm using this one because it's already kind of rounded on the bottom. It's just a little bit big. So I'm going to trim it down even more. This is probably about a 4-inch round now. So that way there's a nice little slope. Perfect. And this is our 6-inch dome that I've already torted in half. And on top. So if you line up the very middle of this cake here, this is the peak of the head. And down to this bottom of the first layer is where the nose is going to be. And all you want to do is just kind of flatten that out to give our little turtle more of a, I don't even know what you would call that, like a sloped forehead, a little bit of a nose, I guess. Same thing with the sides. I'm just going to want to round out that bottom edge a little bit more. It's already looking pretty turtley. We're just going to point the front of his face a little bit. So here's the middle. And now I'm just rounding out the whole back side of the head. Just going to trim down the width of my board. I just want to have a little bit of space all the way around, just like we did the head, so that we can round. Similar concept to the head. The middle of the shell is the peak, and then I'm just going to carve a roundness. Just going to continue rounding, making it nice and smooth, getting rid of my brown edges. Now we're just going to give these cakes a little crumb coat, stick them in the fridge to chill before we put our final coat on. Okay. Just going to apply another layer of buttercream to the outside of the chilled cake and smooth it out with my acetate smoother. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and place this in the fridge to chill while I cover the body. If you want a few more servings than the cake offers, you can always build up the base with a little bit of a sheet cake. And I'm just gonna carve this down so it's more of like a natural slope. I'm gonna color some buttercream with a little bit of ivory. And I have here some crushed graham cracker crumbs. I'm just gonna sprinkle over the surface and just kind of push it into the buttercream. Just brush off any excess crumbs around the edges. Don't worry about them being perfect because we're going to cover them up with some more buttercream. You can put this into the fridge to chill. So I'm going to go ahead and make some rice cereal treats. I'm making a bunch, but you don't have to, you could probably use like half this amount, like half a bag of marshmallows. Okay, after your marshmallows are melted, go ahead and add in some rice cereal. I don't have a certain amount. It's just until it looks like it's not too sticky. See, there's a lot of marshmallow in there still. I'm going to let this cool for about 10 minutes before I start trying to form it. All right, so now I'm going to roll out some fondant for the head and for the body. Just using white, but you could use any color. You just don't want to roll it out all the way. Just almost as much as you need it to be. And then we're going to torch the surface. Make it nice and brown with our creme brulee torch. Don't worry, this doesn't make the fondant taste bad or burned. It doesn't, you know, burn the table. It doesn't melt the fondant. I mean, it melts the surface, but that's it. You do want it to turn a little bit brown. That's good. That will make your cracks more pronounced. And you can get a creme brulee torch at most grocery stores. You can get it on Amazon. You can see anywhere where there's light spots. You're going to come back and make sure that they're torched. And then I'm going to brush my surface with something that's called confectioner's glaze. And this is something that you can also buy on Amazon, or you can get it from cake decorating places like Ruth Ricky or Swank Cake Design. You can also use the spray confectioner's glaze. This is like stuff that they put on candy to make it shiny. It smells like alcohol and kind of death, but it is edible. And the reason why we're putting this on the fondant is to keep the gold from coming off on your hands or your rolling pin. If you mix the gold with the confectioner's glaze, it actually ends up not being quite as shiny, so I always do it this way. And you just want to put a nice layer on there, and it's going to dry pretty quickly. And you're going to do this to both pieces of fondant, one for the body, one for the head. I'm mixing a little bit of Everclear with some Truly Mad Plastics non-toxic gold. If you wanted to use fully edible, True Color makes a fully edible gold. Rainbow Dust makes an edible gold. Edible Artist Decorative Paints makes an edible gold. And then you're going to let that dry. Okay, let's go ahead and form our fins. You don't need to make them super big. I'm putting a little bit of vegetable shortening on my hands to just kind of help keep things from not sticking too much. They're mostly flat, kind of like a banana shape. I'm gonna make another one the same size. And then you're gonna make 2 little ones. Just keep these guys nice and flat. Kind of shape it like a leaf. That's good enough. Let those cool. All right, put some cornstarch down. And then we can go ahead and start rolling. I like to start with a small hard rolling pin and then work my way up to a bigger one. I like to roll my fondant one way and then turn it and roll it the other way. And that gives it that kind of lizard skin. Okay. I'm just gonna roll that up. Take your first cake. And just cover it as you normally would. If you get any cracks, just kind of push them back together. Don't worry too much about any imperfections because it's skin, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just going to trim off a little bit of the excess. Turn this over and just quickly if you have any cracks or anything, you can just fill them with little leftover pieces. Sometimes that happens, but you will never be able to tell. And then do the same thing for the body. Same thing as the head, just trim off a little bit around the base and tuck it under. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and place our turtle eyes. They go pretty much on the side of the head. If you imagine the highest point of the cake and cut it in half, there's a dividing line right here. The eye goes right in front of that line and kind of down towards the bottom. I happen to have a 2-inch cutter here that's about the same size as my eye, and it helps me cut out the cake and the fondant. And just put a little bit of buttercream back in there just so that it's not dry. Buttercream does not hurt the isomalt. It does help it kind of stick. I have here some edible watercolors. Recipe on my website. And I want these to be fairly diluted, not too dark. I use a different brush for every color so I don't accidentally cross-contaminate. And what I'm going to do is just paint on top of this fondant. You don't have to avoid the gold at all. I'm going to start with blue in the center, and then we're going to go to yellow. So that's going to be my colors: blue, green, yellow. You can do whatever colors you want though. I'm going to set this aside while we do the body. On the turtle shell, you only have to do halfway up because we're going to put something on the top. And then I'm just going to cut the fondant off I know it seems like kind of a waste, but it's easiest for me. You could save this for one of the fins. I have some blue, light blue and dark blue that I've just kind of marbled together. I'm going to roll it out. We're going to come up the middle of the turtle shell and bring it to a point. Like that, like a V. And then we're going to come straight. And then we're going to go straight across the back. And then each place where there's a point, you're just going to draw a line down. Easy, easy peasy. And we're going to take a little bit of water, go around the base. Take some of our leftover and roll it out into a snake. And then with either a pizza cutter or a knife, you're just going to cut that in half. Flat side down. Just going to wrap that around. I'm just going to squish down the front a little bit to make room for the head. All right, we're going to cover our fins. Just putting a little bit of buttercream on here to make it stick. Don't need a ton, and you don't need to make it look pretty. Just place your gold over the top of the fin and just tuck the edges under, just like we did before. I'm going to paint the fin just the same way we painted the head and the shell. Just alternating blue and then yellow.
Where's that cake, Mommy? Where's that cake, Mommy?
All right, let's go ahead and add the waves. It's a little bit easier to do if you have a turntable. So I'm just going to take some blue buttercream. Just colored this with sky blue. I'm just going to scoop this into a piping bag. Just going to cut the tip off. Next, I'm going to come in with some white buttercream. Just kind of do a rough little pipe all the way around. And then I like to just take my spatula and just kind of smooth that down. Just kind of makes it look like waves. Scrape off the buttercream around the edges. All right, I can start assembling. Figure out where I want my turtle's head to be. I think I'm going to put them at a diagonal. So I'm going to put it right about there. I'm just going to put a couple of straws to just support the head so it doesn't push into our cake. Very important. Here for the body as well. Push the eye in. I always like to put a little bit of a border around the eyes to help hold them in. Put the two fins on either side, kind of being propped up by the water. And then the two little guys for the back. And I'm just gonna put a little gold accent on the shell. Okay, that's it. That's everything you need to know about making this adorable sea turtle cake. Hopefully you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you want to see more of these, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm Liz Merrick, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.